Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the DLF Trade Show. Still the best, still the greatest, still the most wonderful trade show on the DLF YouTube channel. Maybe ever, everywhere. I don't know. That's for you to decide. If you listened to last week's episode, I said that this week's episode is going to be Addison's 3 players, or I will sit here like this for the entire episode and not make an entire noise. And I would make Addison record for 40-ish minutes of me just sitting here like this. But thankfully, Addison picked some players, so no one has to sit through that. But in true Addison fashion, it never works out the way you wanted to, because Addison picked 3 running backs. Like, really? Like, how much does our wide receiver bias just hang out in the open for the world to see, and you pick 3 running backs?
I contemplated 3 Penn State players. I really did.
Oh, that was so
Saquon
beautiful.
Barkley was the first player that I thought of, and I was like, I could take this down a Penn State route that we have down here. But I took the running back route and decided to go that way.
Well, we already did Godwin, so I feel like we could have gotten away with Barkley, A-Rob, and Gesicki pretty easily.
Yeah.
I mean, throw in Muth just for the fun of it.
Oh, that would be fun. Yep.
Okay, maybe we're doing Muth next episode. Okay, but that's next episode. That's not now. Write that down. We're going to forget.
Okay.
The first player we're going to talk about is Joe Mixon, who comes in at RB8 on DLF ADP. February started their mocks yesterday, I believe. So we are close to getting our new, at least top ranking ADP that Ryan likes to tweet out, but it'll be on the site soon, hopefully, thankfully, that we can get some new updated post NFL season stuff to talk about.
With rookies.
With rookies, yes. I have to learn who those rookies are so I know where to put them in, work to do. All right, cool. First trade, 10-team, 1-quarterback league, which does up the value of running backs a little bit, if you ask me. Joe Mixon, 630.1. For the 107, a 23 first, and Kadarius Toney. The 107, 300 points. The 23 first, 253.3. I feel like that would be closer in a 1-quarterback league. And Kadarius Toney, 162.9 is actually pretty good for what I thought it would actually be. Package adjustment is a decent one of 75, which gives a total of 641.8, which puts this super even. Man, okay, so what's tough with this for me is not liking running backs, but I do really like Joe Mixon. I love that offense. But to me, this is pretty easily the picks for me. Because 1 quarterback, the 107, is going to be a little rough because, again, we found ourselves in a point where it's not a super strong class and there's a couple of quarterbacks up top. So I think the first 15-ish picks, we're going to have 3 or 4 quarterbacks, maybe 5, depending on how the draft goes, because Senior Bowl did pretty well for quarterbacks. And that matters.
Not 1 QB, though. This is 1 QB. Gotcha.
No, the reason I'm saying that is because the difference between Superflex picks and 1 QB picks are going to be very, 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 very different for me. Okay. So the 107 isn't that bad in a Superflex. The 107 and 1 QB, that might be a rough pick.
It's going to be a wide receiver.
Exactly.
Just like how it was in 2021, like where you have like those 5 or 6 wide receivers, like to end out the first round. That's what it's going to be again this year.
Exactly. So, and that usually is, that's not something you feel the need to be at the top of that tier of, unless you just want to go get your guy. But still, you get the 107, which you said, that's going to give you there's going to be 3 running backs, and it seems like at least Treylon Burks is held above the rest of the wide receivers. So starting at 105 is that second tier of players, in which case you're getting close to the top of your pick of the rest of those wide receivers. Now, of course, a lot can change with the combine and the actual draft happening, but for now, that's sort of where we're putting everything together. So tell me I can get one of the top of those wide receivers, a 23 first, which to me probably should be worth more than the 107 in a 1-quarterback league, even though the analyzer has it below. If Kadarius Toney stays healthy, he could be very good for fantasy. Now, I'm not talking top 12 wide receiver, but we're now getting an offensive coordinator who should be creative as opposed to Jason Garrett.
Hopefully.
And a guy who, if given the ball with space and if you're actually creating plays for him, will be very good. And now there might be a coordinator willing to do that, or he gets traded to a team that is willing to do it, because with new GM, with new coach, there was already the rumor of Tony being on a trading block, because why not, right? Sure. But to me, that is enough upside against what's going to be a 26-year-old running back. And unfortunately, that's what Mixon is. And while Mixon was pretty healthy this entire year, it's not common for him to be healthy the entire year. And they kept weirdly putting in Pirine a lot this season.
Like on the most critical plays of your entire season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Mixon was hurt towards the end of the Super Bowl. That is what it is. But like, even still, they put in Pirine for a couple of passing downs, and that felt weird. Like, it didn't need to happen, but they did it anyway. So all of that put together, this is a package I would absolutely be fine taking.
Yes. Yeah. To sell Mixon off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why I picked these 3 running backs was kind of the new thing that I am trying to do this offseason based on the last couple of years and how the market has kind of swung towards like really valuing all these super young, talented upside running backs. We've kind of cast aside these veteran running backs like they just are done. You know, even though they're still producing like elite seasons, like Joe Mixon was a top 5 fantasy running back. That was like the first time he ever did that, but he was really good for fantasy. Yeah. So I really want to target this offseason running backs who are devalued by the community because they're old, but they are still really good fantasy producers. They're in really good situations. These are guys that are not going to get replaced by the NFL draft or some weird thing in free agency. I will say that I'm trying to avoid some guys that don't really fit the bill, like Kamara, Cook, I think don't really fit the bill at their current prices. They're not discounted enough for me, but I thought Joe Mixon might have been, but I was kind of surprised to see this being one of the first and most recent trades that I saw in the Trade Finder of 2 firsts and Kadarius Toney. And while I'm not like the biggest Toney fan, like there's upside there that you could do stuff with and you know, just kind of see what he becomes, because he did flash some really good PPR skills and his talent and everything. But the 2 firsts is really pivotal for me. Like if you remove one of those firsts, I bet you I would probably, like if this was the 107 and Toney, I'd probably take Mixon.
Yes.
But
I would for sure.
Not for the 2 firsts. So that's really interesting, I think, to see that for Joe Mixon. But I like it.
With the 3 players you picked specifically, and we'll get to the other 2, nice little tease right there. There are going to be people in the league who are either just done or don't believe this is real, because at least with Mixon, like he's the one out where it's like, if you are playing with people that have been playing Dynasty for a while, it's always been Mixon's got the talent. He just had some off-field stuff coming in. Mixon's got the talent. Bengals offensive line is just garbage. Mixon's got the talent. He was just hurt last year. Mixon's got the talent, but their offensive line is garbage. And now it's Mixon did really good. And you're probably going to have a couple of GMs in your league where they're just like, that's not going to happen again. You know, lightning in a bottle season. Their offense went crazy. They're going to come down to earth, and Mixon's coming down even further with them because he's going to be a 26-year-old running back, in which case you might not have to spend this to go get Mixon. Or flip it around. If you're that guy who doesn't think it's going to happen again, you might be able to get this for Mixon. You know, so it's I really love that you picked one of these trades as opposed to Mixon going for, like you said, like the 107 and Toney. You know, where you're just like one of those.
Yeah. There were certainly a couple trades in that. Like I saw one where it was like Mixon for 2 early seconds, and I'm like,
oh, gross.
We could talk about that, but that's like so easily Mixon.
Yeah, that's weird.
Or like there's another one that was like Mixon for 2nd and a 5th, and I'm like, what are we doing here? So those outlier trades, they do happen. So I don't know, maybe you're in a league where that can happen, but I would certainly be fine with a 1st round pick, buying Mixon for a 1st and a, you know, whatever little extra that you need to make that kind of even.
But getting 2 firsts and a prospect, that's a real nice move off of a running back.
Oh yeah, 100%, especially now.
Okay, so here's one that's a very interesting combination. I love this. Actually, I love this trade. In a 12-team, 1 quarterback league, Joe Mixon, straight up 652.4 points for Josh Jacobs, a 23 first, a 23 second, and Adam Thielen. Now, the reason I love this trade is you are getting very high valued replacements in Jacobs and Thielen. Man, Thielen's 31, probably going to be 32 by next season. That quarterback situation is a little iffy because now rumors are coming out that they might want to unload Cousins' contract.
I think he's staying for one more year.
Well, he's on contract for one more year.
Yeah.
But, there's rumors of them trying to, pull an Osweiler deal where they pay someone else to take his contract. But we'll see. But as of right now, Adam Thielen is a still insanely talented wide receiver. Josh Jacobs has become super solid. And you're not going to get the ceiling weeks that you have with Mixon. And probably you're going to suffer 4 or 5 maybe points per game. But at the cost of also getting a first and a second and 23, which is a great class. And Thielen, who, even if he's not your steady wide receiver 2 anymore, is a wide receiver 3 or replacement flex play. Like, I love that trade because not only are you getting production, you're getting the picks also, which leads me to say, I don't think I send all of this for Mixon. Because I don't think Mixon is that team-changing asset. Like, this wouldn't have worked a year or two before, but like, this is a package you put together to go get someone like CMC, like someone that you give up your current and your future to go get someone that should win you the league. Mixon's not going to win you a league.
Yeah, this is the type of move that I love and that I want to do. I want to do it with the younger guys. Like, there's an example. Somebody in the comments on a previous video a couple of days ago asked, would you trade Najee Harris for Christian McCaffrey in a 2023 first? And I'm like, yes. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I want to do. I want to take and break down the running backs kind of at the top that we value really, really heavily. But in reality, the production isn't all that different than a bunch of guys who are valued down as back-end RB1s or even high-end RB2s. And I want to trade those guys, break them down, and maybe get another first on top of that. It's funny because this is kind of the opposite where I'm trading a back-end RB1 for a younger RB2, but I'm still getting that first on top of it. And that's why, I still love that, because Josh Jacobs was also an RB1 last year. Joe Mixon was top 5. Josh Jacobs was, I think, RB11, RB10. So the point per game difference really wasn't all that there. You can make that up with Adam Thielen whenever you can play him as like you said, a flex or a wide receiver 3. Then you get the first and the second and in your money there. And if that first is top 5, top 3, holy crap, that's just an amazing trade that you made. If it's like 110, 111, it's still great. But like, if that first is anything higher than top 6, you're cold. You're so in the green. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read the values, and I kind of want to, because Josh Jacobs is 291.3, a 23 first, 253.3. Adam Thielen, 102.8, and a 23 second, 91.3. And since it's 4 for 1, this is the largest package adjustment we've really talked about. At 141.9, that package adjustment is almost Thielen in the second. Like, it's not that far off from the total. I mean, it's 190 versus 141. 50 points is a third. So like, would you do, like, if you took Thielen out of there, which is pretty much what you could do, how much would that change for you?
Nope, I'd still do it.
You would still send Mixon if it was Jacobs first and a second? Yeah, I think I would too.
I would take the Mixon side if one of Jacobs or the first was not there.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. I agree with that.
That's basically the only combination of this trade where I would take the Mixon side.
Yeah, it takes a lot to make even 3 for 1s, 4 for 1s worthwhile. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
We are okay, sorry, go ahead.
One small spoiler. The 140 package adjustment will not be the smallest package, or will not be the biggest package adjustment that we talk about today.
Oh man, look at that. Look at that talent you're posting right there. That nice tease you put in. I like it. Speaking of liking things, next guy is a player we both like. A Mr. Saquon Barkley.
Right there. Jumping over that Iowa player. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, also, in case we haven't brought it up every other episode, Penn State man over there. And I hosted a podcast for a few years with another Mr. Penn State man. So the Saquon love is drilled into my brain, whether I like it or not. But honestly, I do. His value has kind of fallen. He's running back 10. He's only 25. And I think he turned 25 recently. Like, I think I remember saying he was 24 the entire season. So age isn't the biggest deal with him. He still has another year on his contract, right? 2018, 19, 20, 21.
This is his 5th-year deal, right?
Yes. Yeah, because he came in 18, right? 18, 19, 20, 21 would have been 4. So this is...
Yep, this is his 5th-year deal. Then he's a free agent next year. So he just turned 25 a week ago.
Exactly.
On the final year of his rookie deal. So...
Right, so he's coming into his last season at 25, which isn't terrible. Honestly, the only thing that really dropped him is injuries. And look, he looked great after coming back until he stepped on a dude's foot and grew an ankle on his ankle. And then, yeah, he didn't finish the season great. But also, let's remember the situation. Jake Fromm was their quarterback. On a team that wasn't great in the first place, Daniel Jones got hurt, and there was no wide receivers to catch the ball. So yes, literally all 11 players were just guarding Saquon Barkley. Like, that's all it was. That's all you had to do. The first trade we have is awful. Sorry, couldn't hold that one in. 12-team Superflex League. Saquon Barkley, I don't remember if I said he's the running back 10 in ADP. Saquon Barkley comes in at 495.3. The trade is Saquon Barkley straight up for the 111 and Deontay Foreman. So pretty much just Saquon for the 111. Okay, like I said before, being in a Superflex league pushes the value of later firsts up a little bit. But man, are we really saying Saquon Barkley is going to be worth the RB4 or 5 and like the wide receiver 3 or 4? Like, that's rough. Like, even not full Saquon Barkley, and again, like we were saying before with Tony, which will hopefully be a better orchestrated offense. That's so easily Saquon to me. Like, if I can get Saquon for the 111, I might go offer that in every single league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people hate Saquon Barkley, dude. Like,
and it's not even Saquon's fault. It's because he came in as the generational talent. He was the running back one.
Was the generational talent in 2018.
He was the running back 1 in 2018, and then things got weird after that.
Yeah. ACL and then the
high ankle sprain, which he played through and played really well. He should not have come back from a high ankle sprain in 2 weeks and still be putting up 20 points a game. But, he's back and he's playing and he's doing well. So people sort of forgot that he was playing through a sprained ankle, which he's a running back. You need those things. Mm-hmm. And you need them to be working correctly. This is crazy. Like, to me, this is so easy, Saquon Barkley, that I think we could just move on at this point.
Yes. Saquon. Right.
This next one is absolutely more interesting because it is same league. I think it was a 12-team Superflex. Is that what this is? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Same league format. We have Saquon Barkley, the 202 and the 210. I love that we have numbers for DeAndre Swift and the 306.
Now, here's a fun fact.
Okay.
You're in this league.
Am I really? I should remember these things. I don't.
This is the Dynasty Diagnostic Champion. It's a big 48 teamer or whatever.
Yeah. 4 copy league.
4. Yeah. Yep.
That's not a good trade. Okay. So here's think what you want of Saquon. The thing is, you're supposed to use that to your advantage. Selling Swift for Saquon and 2 firsts is not using your liking of Saquon to an advantage. Yeah, my bad.
If it was 2 firsts,
my bad. So yeah, Saquon in 2 seconds, especially like the 202 and the 210. Yes, it's a 4-copy league and it's still 12 teams, which means it really is still the 202. It doesn't really matter how many people are picking in front of you because it's still the same set of players. You need more on top of Barkley to get to the value of Swift because at least last checking, Swift, I think, was the running back 2.
Mm-hmm. Which is weird considering that the difference is like 40 points. Like I didn't
read the totals out. Yeah. So Saquon 495.3, the 202 165.6, The 210, 83.9 for a total of 716.2. For Swift comes in at 710.9 and the 306, 42.5. So if you take the package adjustment and the 306, you can pretty much cancel out the 210. So Barkley and the 202 for Swift, it sounds insane to me. The 202 just seems very valuable right now.
Yeah. This was one, and I pulled this one specifically because what I loved about it was the process. I loved the thought of, like I said before, the Joe Mixon to Josh Jacobs, breaking Swift down to get to the Saquon Barkley level and getting something on top of Saquon that's valuable. I just think that the execution was missed because 2 seconds in theory sounds great. I would just much rather have a pick with a 1 in front of it.
And like, honestly, for me, if I'm the Swift team, like that needs to be like the 108. Like that needs to be a decent
needs to be a mid at least, if not higher.
So that seems low for move. And the thing is, it's not us disliking Saquon Barkley. It's just the realistic value between the two. Like if you do like Barkley more than consensus, you're supposed to get those firsts anyway. You're not supposed to settle for the seconds.
Right. Yeah, that's why. Like, I wanted to point this trade out because this is something that an example of what I want to do. It's just, I just think you need to go, just an extra couple steps to really make sense for you to break Swift down to get to Saquon Barkley, and get that extra first instead of 2 seconds.
So the value of a 23 first is 253.3. So Saquon Barkley and a 23 first for Swift is pretty much even in the trade analyzer.
Yeah, what is that, like 750 to 710?
740 something to 710, yeah. So what do you think of trading Swift for Barkley and a 23 first?
Yeah, that's something that I would do because Swift's value is on the PPR game. It's in the receptions that he can bring in. And to be honest, that's also kind of Saquon Barkley's value.
Yes.
Like both of these players are home run hitters when they, get the ball in their hands. And they're not really going to churn out rushing yardage. Like these guys are going to be 15 carries for 53 yards, but they're going to catch 5 or 6 passes. And if they score, you have a 20 plus PPR performance on the week. So that's why I think like these two players are very similar in how they score and the offenses that they play in. And that I think really the only difference between them is that we just love DeAndre Swift more because he hasn't been hurt and he's 2 years younger. So that to me is really all the biggest difference. Like if Saquon Barkley in a Brian Daboll offense, I know that the Bills haven't had a running back, but obviously he's not going to translate not using running backs when he has a Saquon Barkley on his team.
But also their best running back was their quarterback. They didn't need another one.
Right. And not to mention that they had a bunch of really good wide receivers and that offense wasn't made for running the ball. This offense is made to incorporate Saquon Barkley in the Giants offense, and Daboll's going to do that. So if both of these players play 14, 15 or more games, at the end of the year in 2022, I really don't think that there's going to be that big of a difference
production-wise.
Their production. Maybe 1 or 2 points per game, but I think that 1 or 2 points per game could go one way or the other. I wouldn't be surprised if Barkley outscored Swift next year.
And I also wouldn't be surprised. Getting that 23 first is beautiful at that point.
Exactly. Like, and it really just comes down to if Saquon Barkley stays healthy, which I think, hopefully that happens. I know that as we get more of these soft tissue injuries that pile up, like that probability goes higher and higher that he just gets hurt every year. But man, like if he could just stay healthy for, like I said, 14 games, doesn't even need to give you a whole year, 14 games. I think on a points per game basis, you're going to be really happy with Saquon Barkley, as you would have DeAndre Swift anyway. And, you get that mid first this year, that 2023 first next year on top of that. So
I agree with everything you just said. So we're going to move on to Derrick Henry, who is running back 16. That's rough. Okay. But 12-team Superflex League, Derrick Henry comes in at 410.7, traded for the 110 and the 208, which, man, I'm going to take out that package adjustment just to make it a little close to being fair. It would be about 332.5. Ugh. Okay, so here's my deal with Derrick Henry. I have always been a Derrick Henry fan because the idea of that throwback of a running back out of a man who's not built like a human being. It was fun. Like the fact that Derrick Henry can move as fast and as agile as he could at the size of him, it was just cool. Like that's really what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, really funny to me that his first 2 or 3 years when he was stuck behind DeMarco Murray and all of that junk was when he got injured. Like he kept hurting his ankle. And then all of a sudden you give the guy 400 touches and he's fine the entire season until he wasn't. Now here's my issue. And it's not really a me thing because what I try and do is, doing this show, doing Trade Addicts, a lot of what I need to do is try and figure out how the rest of everyone else will also think about player value, because that goes in a lot when you try and gauge value across other players. Derrick Henry's value came because of touches. Also, he did very good things with those touches. Now, are we stuck on the idea that he got hurt? He can keep getting hurt. He got hurt. Is Tennessee not going to give him 400 touches anymore? He is 28 years old. I don't remember when his birthday is, so I don't remember if he's going on 29 in the season or not. Of course, forgetting, like I said before, he barely played his first 3 years. Like we kept giving Ingram a pass on his age because he was
just turned 28.
Okay, excellent.
A month ago.
So he'll be going into his 28-year-old season. There's a lot of things that should create a discount in Derrick Henry. The problem is, more than likely, he's going to score like Derrick Henry did. Maybe not the beginning of this year, Derrick Henry, where he was the running back one after missing 10 games or so because of how well he did, and it took Jonathan Taylor that long to catch up. But he's still going to most likely produce as a fantasy running back one next year and a half. Most likely. I mean, that's very hopeful because assuming he still gets that workload, assuming he can still run as well as he could, but you're stuck in a situation where there's no middle ground on Derrick Henry's value. You either believe he's Derrick Henry or you believe he's kind of washed and maybe a running back too. To me, trading Derrick Henry away for the 110 and the 208 leads me to believe you think he's a running back too. I don't think I could trade him for that.
Yeah. I'm definitely taking the Derrick Henry side on this. And this is honestly just one example of a bunch of trades that I saw on the, like, they were all basically like a late 2022 first and this like player that's equivalent to a late second or a third. Like it was like a bunch of like those kinds of deals, or a 22 second, a 22 first and a second and a third, like those kind of things that ultimately just really end up being just that first and a little extra. And I would absolutely do that for Derrick Henry up till probably like the 106, 107. I would probably end up doing that for. Like if it's a top 5 pick, I'll just hit the reset button on one of the rookie running backs, hopefully, or just grab Burks and see what happens. But I think Derrick Henry is just going to go right back to doing his thing. And I mean, you can predict or judge or question, will he get hurt again with the continued workload that he's going to get? I don't really want to speculate on that. I don't really want to worry about injuries, but like the first game he came back in the playoffs against the Cincinnati Bengals, he had 20 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown. Deontay Foreman was the only other running back on the Titans to get a carry. He only had 4. So Henry had 20 of the 24 rush attempts for the Tennessee Titans. And that was with A.J. Brown going for 140 and a touchdown. That was with Julio Jones getting 6 for 60 as well. So, like, offensively, even the wide receivers kind of got theirs as well. Brian Tannehill ended up throwing 3 picks, which killed 3 different drives. But, Derrick Henry still got his. I love the opportunity of buying him for that late first, especially if you are a late first because you are a competitor this year.
You earned it,
and then you just go buy Derrick Henry, and then you add Derrick Henry and then you ride him into the sunset. And that kind of helps continue to make you a competitor every year, and then just kind of see what goes on from there, and hopefully just continue to win. And you get to keep your 2023 first, because I would much rather have the 23 first than a late first.
Yes.
And just turn that into Derrick Henry. So money.
Yeah, at this point, acquiring Derrick Henry onto your team means you're most likely willing to ride him into the sunset at value, because you're at the 110. You're pretty much like I said before, the 110 is running back 2 price. You hit the first few weeks of the season, your running back gets hurt, you send a late first to go get a guy you could throw in your RB2 slot. That's what you do. That doesn't account for the fact that Derrick Henry still can be Derrick Henry. And if I told you right now, I won't give you stats, but I will tell you that Derrick Henry plays every game next season and gets his workload. He gets 20 to 26 carries, 2 to 5 catches, with a little standard deviation on either side. Like, if I told you that happened, I'm not going to tell you how many yards, how many actual catches, but I told you he was doing that. Wouldn't you pay a lot more than the 110?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would probably say that he's probably a top 5 running back if he had that type of workload.
So if you're telling me I can get solid, probably high-end RB2 with the ceiling of the running back 3 for the 110, all day.
Money.
Money. Okay, let's go to a way that you should not try and acquire Derrick Henry.
You should try to sell Derrick Henry.
Same 12-team Superflex league. I love when we get the little warning, Team B gave up the most players and the most valuable player, because Derrick Henry at 410.7 got traded for Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, and the 206. Good for you for getting that pick added, whoever you are. Like, I love that, where it's so lopsided in the first place, but then you get that little extra thrown on. Why not? All right, let me ask you, Derrick Henry or Jalen Hurts?
I knew you were going to ask me that when I put this in here, and I didn't know an answer for it, but it has to be Jalen Hurts.
The answer is the quarterback. Especially the running quarterback. Yeah. I think we've passed the point. Like, I feel like I can say with much more certainty than I used to, Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback for the Eagles next year. Like, I feel very much more safe saying that now than 3 or 4 weeks ago when we did the episode about me freaking out about him.
I think especially because they have 3 firsts, but they're all like after pick 15.
Yes, they used to be very early, and then the team started playing.
They went from 3 top 10 firsts to 3 firsts at like 118, 120, and 123 or something like that.
Yeah,
like that.
Very. I mean, unfortunate a bit for them, but it'll be great for their team building. Mm-hmm. So yeah, to me, this is crazy. This is weird. This is very easily the Eagles players' side. So yeah, you find that person who thinks Derrick Henry still can be the RB3. I still don't think you're getting that, but worth a shot, right? Someone did it.
You have to find that specific person who doesn't believe Jalen Hurts is it, who doesn't think Devonta Smith is it, especially as long as Jalen Hurts is the quarterback for Devonta Smith. And yeah, I guess they added the second. Man, I bet you there are some people out there that would probably take Devonta Smith over Derrick Henry as well.
I mean, that's what I was looking at, because Derrick Henry 410.7, Devonta Smith and the 206, 397. I mean, that's pretty much the same. So Devonta Smith and the 206 for Derrick Henry is practically even.
Yep. Then he got all 3.
I think I take Devonta Smith in a mid-second over Henry, and it's purely because of value installation of Devonta Smith. It is pure me being scared of an older running back that just got hurt. That's all it is. The smart move would probably be to take Henry, because while I believe in Smith as a talent, and I do believe in Smith on the Eagles, I just think you're getting more points out of Henry. For at least the next year.
It depends on where your direction is, because the value is all insulated on the Smith side. Like, if we go into 2022 and on week 1, 2022, both Derrick Henry and Devonta Smith tear their ACLs, one of these players isn't really going to move in dynasty value. Or if he does, he'll drop down and then go right back up kind of to where he was as soon as he's healthy, like J.K. Dobbins is basically doing. The other one
is a
29-year-old running back who just tore his ACL after also having an ankle injury that also ended his season 2 years before. So, now we there's a lot more insulation with Devonta Smith than there is Derrick Henry.
Oh yeah, and Jalen Hurts was actually still in on that trade, so let's not forget that.
Yeah, let's
like
not
we
forget
keep talking like that wasn't really part of it, but yeah, no, crazy. All right, so that wasn't the horrible trade, everyone. Here's the horrible trade. Oh my, 12-team, 1 quarterback.
Yep, take your time.
I'm gonna need it. Derrick Henry, Jonnu Smith, a 24 fifth, and Scotty Miller. Wow,
Scotty Miller's not even worth a 24 fifth.
He's worth 0. Ugh. 4. Michael Pittman, the 202, a 24 second. Cole Kmet, the 306, a 23 fourth, a 23 fifth, and a 24 fifth.
I like how they swapped 5th round picks in 2024.
Yes, they did, because they know. And like Addison teased before, the package adjustment here is 150. I mean, honestly, the total values at the end of this is the Derrick Henry side 590, and the Pittman and picks side is 632.8. Like they found a way to still make the Pittman side worth more. But this is still more or less Derrick Henry for Michael Pittman in a couple of seconds. 22 and 24 seconds. Because the rest of it isn't that big of a deal. This is so weird. Like, this isn't horrible. This is strange. Like, this is something I would do by accident. Like,
you just start clicking buttons, and then you're like, oh, I'll do that. And then at the end of it, you're like, you forgot that you had all those buttons clicked.
Yes. Like, you're like, okay, cool. No, that's a few ideas I could put together because I scrolled too far down and forgot that stuff up there was still clicked, which I've done before. let's throw that out there. But yeah, this is so weird. And again, they found a way, even with the package adjustment, to compile value above the better player. Because Derrick Henry 556.7, Michael Pittman 394.3. They're not really that far apart because the 202 does bridge the gap. Mm-hmm. But they just kept adding stuff for a while.
Yeah. I try to do like, what did the package adjustment like cancel out? And it canceled out literally Cole Kmet down.
Yeah.
To leave Pittman in both of the seconds.
What this comes, okay, so Derrick Henry for Michael Pittman and the 202. That's what the trade should just have been.
Yeah.
What would you take? I think I'd take Pittman in the pick. I like Pittman.
Probably Pittman in the pick as well. That's another one of those ones like Devonta Smith. They're kind of the same.
So, like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to wrap my brain around this, so we're going to need to end this show before I just sit here staring. Thank you, everyone, for hanging around for another episode of the DLF Trade Show. I'm your host, Russ Fisher at Dynasty Outhouse. He is your host, Addison Hayes at AmazeHayes_. Catch you next time.